Hello, my name is Daddy. Beep boop, beep boop, beep boop.
G'day everyone, welcome to another lesson of Python for the Mindstorms robot Inventor. Today we're going to look at handling errors. G'day everyone, my name is Gary, and if you haven't been following these lessons, make sure you are checking out the latest video over here, okay? Because these lessons are building on top of each other, and it's really going to be helpful for you to follow them in order so that you don't miss out on anything. So today we're going to talk about errors. Handling errors is one of those jobs that all programmers have to do at some stage, and it's very hard for someone who's just starting out to sort of get used to. When you see those big red words pop up saying that your code's not working and your robot is just freezing in the middle of nowhere and it's not doing anything, it seems to get really discouraging, and then you sort of feel a bit lost when it comes to, you know, I'm not sure where to look, I don't know what to do to get this code to work, I've just copied everything that Gary just wrote, but something's wrong and I don't know how to fix it. Well, today I'm going to make it so that you are never scared of errors ever again, okay? I'm going to show you how to identify errors, and then also I'm going to give you examples of the most common errors that you are going to face when you're doing Python, and also for Python robotics. So let's get straight into it and have a look at what an error is going to look like. Okay, so start a new project. Here is my Mindstorms Python project. I'm going to call it a bunch of errors. Okay, so here we're going to define our first object. Okay, wheels equals motor pair, and then this motor pair is defining A and B ports. If you've built Tricky, which is the robot that we've been using for these lessons, then the motors are at A and B, obviously, and then we make a beep, and then we're going to get our robot to move forward. So wheels dot move. Actually, let's do this. Wheels dot move 10 centimeters at a steering value of 0. Okay. Now let's have a look at our robot. Okay, I'm going to run this code. Oh, so there's an error. You see the red light flash. So every time your robot doesn't do anything or stops and then flashes a red light on the center button, that means there's an error. And in order to find out what the error is, we're going to go and look at the console. Preferably you have your robot connected via Bluetooth or a cable when you're running so that you can actually see these errors. Okay, so let's have a look. So the robot flashed a red light. We click on this console down the bottom here, and then here we go, we have an error. So this is how an error looks like. We the key is we're trying to find two things. Firstly, where the error is and what the error is. Okay, where it is and what it is. Okay, so here this is very helpful. Okay, it says all this stuff, and then it says file Python line 1 start program line 13, and then there's a name error, wheels is not defined. Okay, so here there's two things. It says line 1 and then line 13. So which is it? Where is the line that there's an error happening? Well, when you are debugging, which is a programmer's way of saying that you're finding problems, you read backwards. Okay, so whatever the last line is where it says that there is an error, that's where you start looking. Okay, so although you read from the top down, the last line that it identifies is the line that you should be focusing your attention at. So here we have the last line is line 13. Okay, line 13 is where we say wheels.move, 10 centimeters 0. But then there's another part of this error, NameError. Wheels is not defined. Okay, so that is what this error is. Okay, so this is the most common error that you'll face. Okay, that something, an object, is not defined, and the reason it's not defined is because there's no such thing as wheels with a Z, right? I've defined wheels with an S up here as a motor pair. Okay, so double check your spelling. So the way you would avoid this error happening in the first place is to double check the spelling. Another way to avoid this error is that as you are typing, watch this. Do you see that? Wheels. Okay, it popped up with wheels Z here because I've typed in wheels here. Okay, but let's disregard that. Okay, so when I start typing wheels, you'll see this auto completion menu pop up. Okay, so this is code completion, and code completion will help you use the same spelling as whatever your variables are. Sometimes you might have camel casing or a very long kind of object name. Then this auto completion is going to be really helpful because at least, even if it's not the right object, it is not spelt incorrectly. Okay, so every time you start to type something and you see an auto completion menu come up, have a quick look at the auto completion menu and make sure that it is there, and then just hit enter on that object so that you don't have to retype it and potentially make spelling errors like we just did. Okay. Another way you can get this this object isn't defined error is where you have an ordering issue. So remember, when we do Python, we have a very strict order. Well, it's not strict, but it is it is good a good habit. So what you do is you have your you have your imports at the start, and then you create your objects, and then you write your program. Okay, but before you write your program, what you should also do is you should define your functions. Okay, so why do we have it in this order? Well, let's say when we're running our program, we did go wheels.start. Okay, but if I didn't have my objects first, and if I put in my wheels definition under wheels.start, that is also going to give me the same error. The wheels isn't defined error. So press go. Okay, it gives me another error. You see, it just popped up. Wheels isn't defined. I spelt it correctly, but it's not defined because I define it after I actually use it. Okay, remember, Python is a procedural language. Okay, it is reading lines in your code from the top down. Okay, so when it reads the line at line 15, wheels.start, it has to know what wheels is. Okay, but it doesn't because we defined wheels afterwards. So that's why we always import everything at the start, then define the objects, then define the functions, and then afterwards you run the code. Okay, run the executable stuff. Yeah, so it's really important to get that in order to avoid this error. Okay, let's see another kind of error. Let's say I am creating a little bit of a calculator. Okay, so x equals 5. Then down here we say if x equals 5, then print yes, x equals 5. Okay, I'll run the code. And then this is the next most common error, the syntax error. Okay, invalid syntax. So it's telling me at line 18 there is a syntax error. But here's the funny thing. Nothing is wrong with line 18. You have a look over here. Print yes, x equals 5 is not an error. There's no spelling error, there's no syntax error here. But this line 18 is when Python has started to detect an error. Okay, why does it detect an error at line 15? It's because the error had already happened in line 17. So you have to look at line 17. It said I have x, if x equals 5, I didn't put in a colon, right? I missed out a colon because I need to have a colon in order for it to say that after x equals 5, then do something, right? And then we indent and say that print yes, x equals 5. But if I didn't have that colon, it keeps on reading that line and then the line afterwards, and then it says there's a syntax error because you put in print straight after x equals 5 and there was no colon in between. So that is another really common error where you forget a colon or a bracket or a quotation mark or anything like that. It will tell you where the error is detected, but the error actually happens in the lines prior to that. Okay, very important to look at. So this happens all the time when you have typed something in the wrong syntax, but it only detects it in the lines after the actual error. So if you're looking at the actual line, it's not going to find it. You have to find it beforehand. Okay. Here's another common error, and it is to do with spaces and indents. Look, let's see if I had this if statement and then I didn't have the indent, then I will also get an error. Okay, it says there is an invalid syntax. Okay, and also it's at line 18. So this time the error is at line 18, and that's because we haven't got any kind of indentation after our if statement. Okay, anytime you have a while loop or for loop or an if statement or anything like that that has a colon at the end or defining a function, the lines after it need to be indented one level in so that it's not empty. Okay, so here you'll have a syntax error because you didn't indent your lines. Okay, let's say I'm going to do another mathematical bit of code. Go y equals 2.3, and I want to round it up. So I'll go, say down here, I'll go print math.ceil to math.ceil y. Okay, so that is preferably going to print out 3, right? Because 2.3 rounded up is equal to 3. But let's run the code. Have a look. Name error. Name math isn't defined on line 17. Let's have a look at line 17. Math isn't defined. That's kind of strange. That's because through the power of video editing, I have commented out the import math line here. So math doesn't exist because we didn't import math. So, but I was alerted to the error because I know what the error is. Math is not defined. Find out what math is, and then also line 17. So 17 right here. So all I have to do is work backwards. Why is math not defined? I look up and then see that import math got commented out. So that's what an error will look like if you don't or forget to import something. Another really common error is is providing the wrong number of arguments or parameters in a function. So let's say I've created a motor pair and I forgot to add b, right? So if I do that, well, let's just comment that out, remove that. If I run this code now, the code is saying that the function takes 3 positional arguments, but 2 were given. 3 positional arguments, but 2 were given. I only gave it 1 argument. You'll see the error is saying that at line 9, there is a type error. Okay, function takes 3 positional arguments, but 2 were given. So here we have given 1 argument, but there's actually an extra argument that gets added onto all these functions. So just disregard that extra argument. But it was expecting 3 arguments. So when you would normally give them 2, you only give them 1. So that is why it's saying that the number of arguments is wrong. So now you would know, okay, I'll need to add an extra argument here. And the another way you would get this wrong is if you had added an extra one. Okay, so if I added an extra one, I'll run the code. Yeah, you will still get this same error. Okay, so there's a type error where the function takes 3 positional arguments, but 4 were given. Okay, so remember there's an extra argument that gets added in automatically. So basically it means that you have 1 too many arguments. So you just gotta have to make sure you double check the parameters that you're putting into these functions. Another really common error is another type error. Okay, so sometimes you forget to add the quotation marks for a string. All right, if I put in motor pair AB, it's not looking for the letter A and the letter B because that's what a string is. It's looking for an object called A and an object called B, and we haven't actually defined any objects. So there's 2 potential errors here. The first one is that it's going to spot that motor pair doesn't take an object in there, right? It's looking for strings. And then secondly, these objects don't actually exist. Okay, so let's have a look at the kind of errors that you would get. Yep. Okay, A isn't defined because A, remember, it's looking for an object A. All right, and a way to fix it would probably be to go A equals A, right? But that's not good. That's a really bad habit, right? But here at least you will understand that you have written in these as objects, and it is not correct. Okay, although it is possible that you could do something like this. Okay, let's say I wanted to have left motor as a string and right motor as a string. So we go left motor string equals A. Okay, and then we might go right motor string equals B, and then you can put in left motor and right motor in here. Okay, left motor string and right motor string in here, and that would work. Okay, if you put in 2 objects in here, but those objects are strings, then you will still get around this error. Okay, see, it's working now. And the final most common type of error is a type error. Okay, so let's say I want to go print my favorite number is, and then I'll say plus X, right? So I want to say my favorite number is 5 because X is equal to 5, right? So if I run this code, giving me the type error. The type error is can't convert int, which is short for integer, to a string implicitly. Okay, basically it's saying that I can't add this string, my favorite number is, and an integer, a number, together. Okay, because you can't add words and numbers together. So in order to make sure that this number turns into a string, I will have to cast it as a string. So str and then open bracket X and then close bracket. And what that's going to do is it's going to turn that integer into a string, which is a word, and a word can be added to another word. Okay, so if I press play now, it's going to find my favorite number is 5. Of course, if you've done Python before, there's an even shorter way to do this. You can just go print my favorite number is, and then close the quotation marks, and then comma X. That's totally fine because this is treating these 2 items separately. We're not adding them together. Okay, we're just printing one thing after another, and that's totally fine. So see, It's going to print my favorite number is 5 twice. There we go. So today we learned how to identify the location of an error and also the type of an error. We've also gone through a few of the most common kinds of errors that you will encounter, and hopefully that's going to make it so that your life is easier when you are dealing with errors in Python. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.